Welcome to the Close Your House. It's your host, Jesska, and today I'm sitting with Tiffany. Her story is one of courage, clarity, and rebuilding from the inside out. After going no contact with her mother, Tiffany didn't just start over. She created a life rooted in who she naturally is. Through the highs and lows of her healing journey, she built a community grounded in honesty, growth, and self connection. Now, through her coaching, her book, and her growing platform, Tiffany helps women and men learn how to meet themselves. She teaches them how to set boundaries that aren't rules or demands and to create the lives they deserve by doing the internal work first. Her journey is a powerful reminder that real change begins within and that healing yourself becomes the foundation for healthier relationships moving forward. All right. Tiffany, thank you so much for joining the Closure House today. Your work deeply resonate with so many women. Can you please share what inspired Mothered by Survival?
Oh man. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Um, I was inspired by this deep need to name a thing that I felt and that I was beginning to see in a lot of my clients. I had already done this deep dive for myself and I had gone no contact with my mother, but I didn't relate it to how my life changed for the better after. I just thought, I can focus on more positive things. I thought that it was a one off for me. And then I began life coaching women, and they wanted to be married and they wanted to date and they wanted to do all of these other great things to be service to someone else. And when I asked them where that came from, I began to hear pieces of myself. And I had to ask them further questions. And as I reached for more certifications, because that's what really tied everything together for me. I started with the life coaching and then I went into cognitive based therapies. Because if I can help you unthink the way that you thought, I can help you think new stuff. Well, I could get you to your goal in a more authentic way instead of forcing you into a performative box, because I hate that for feminine women. I don't think femininity should ever be performative because it's such a powerful thing. And yes, it is soft. And yes, other people get to benefit from it. But I kept hearing all of these women wanting to be so much for somebody else and nothing to themselves. And I remember feeling like that. So I wrote the book and I've gotten such a resounding response from women and men also. Just, oh my God, this helped me understand my wife. This helped me understand what I thought. And just, it's been a beautiful experience.
Yeah. I wanted to know a little bit more about like the things that resonated with you once you started this work. You start linking it to like things that you went through. Tell me about some of the things that you noticed.
Oh man. When I was a young girl, I was already making these connections. I was a very inquisitive child. Okay. When my husband first met my mom, she told him, I had to tell her, I had to just come clean that there was no Santa Claus because she was asking questions and I could not lie. And the question I asked her was, well, if Santa Claus gives you gifts, whether you're a good girl or a good boy, then why are the Salvation Army people ringing the bell to collect money for the kids for Santa Claus? And she was like, I didn't know what to tell her.
Right.
So I've always been very inquisitive and I always connected the dots, but it wasn't until I cleared the healing that it was like, oh, this is a larger issue. So I'm not hyper productive and overworking myself because this is my personality. These are my presets. So where did I learn to self-sacrifice for my worth at? I started tracing it back. And on the cover of the book, I actually have the lines tracing it back because I designed this cover and this was my experience. I was tracing it back. I was holding strings to the women who came before me, and I was trying to figure out how this happened. And then I saw it in my mother, and I saw it in my grandmother. So I knew that it was something that I needed to separate from. I didn't know how.
Yeah.
And the how, is the stumbling blocks and the failed relationships and the natural consequences of things that actually taught me how to be the person I wanted to be. So it's my childhood directly linked to where I am. And that's why I use it so much in my content, just unashamedly. Just who cares about judgment? I'm one of those people. I think very highly of myself. So I don't care what other people think of me
Mhm.
because I'm the only one who thinks in my head. And what's in my head creates my outward reality. So I can't concern myself with what happens in a private space for them because what they think about me is a private space. It's not even my business. So
Yeah.
I'll tell it. I'll tell it if it's some healing attached to it. Yes, I wanted to go no contact when I was 5. Oh, and I had negative comments. We need to hear your mom's side. And I'm like, well, I'd like to hear my mom's side also. But I understand that in healing, you go either one way or the other. Sometimes you want to hide and sometimes you want to find it.
Yeah.
And she wanted to hide it. So, me healing and digging was actually offensive to her. So I
Yeah.
was getting aggressive. I tried my best. I did what I could. And what do you mean? You had a great childhood. And I'm like, I didn't have a childhood. But neither did she. So I have a lot of compassion for her. And I don't know, it comes with the healing because
Yeah.
once you source it, there's no more blame.
Yeah.
There's just identification.
And I think that that's where things get lost. Like, as you're building this community, one of the things that I see is the negative comments are always defending the abuse and abuser. They're not supporting the survivor.
No, no. And it's because they don't know how. And it's because they've never been supported. Because if you read I have a theory and you'll hear a lot of compassion in what I say because the compassion is my guide. I use compassion like a compass. And I'll explain more on that later. But when a person meets me with some type of negativity, I never assume that it's directed toward me because they don't know me, right? So this is 100% about their experience. If they're in the comments and they're saying, even if they're insulting my appearance, you don't know me. This is more about you. You just had to figure out something to tie it to. So I don't take it personally, but I do search the comments and I'm like, damn, for you to say that it doesn't matter what your parents do to you, you should always stay in contact. What does that mean you've taken from people who have said that they loved you? What does that mean that you have tolerated? And also on top of that, what are you asking someone now to tolerate? All of the I'm just like that. That's just who I am. I'm never going to change. That's mama. We've heard that in our community for so long. That's just mama and no accountability, no efforts to change. And I hear that and it's like, would I want to live that life? Would I be happy or comfortable forcing myself on other people, imposing on their free will like that? Would I be happy? And I know I wouldn't. So I feel pity for them. I
Yeah.
delete them and block them because we not doing that.
I just, I didn't know you did that at first, but I saw that recently and I literally had to laugh out loud because it's like, I can control it. It's like, if you're saying you create the spaces around you, who you are, what you believe about yourself, you have to protect it too.
Yeah, and I also have to protect the people that are in my space
Yeah.
because I know I'm at a level of healing where I could say, this is about them. I don't know the people who are just finding me and they're just starting this journey. I don't know if they can emotionally process that right now. And I won't have a person leaving a negative comment be the reason that they've internalized this now. And now they're thinking about all of those negative things because emotionally immature parents speak negatively over themselves and they also speak negatively over their children. And your mother's voice becomes your internal voice.
Yes. So I'm constantly teaching people exactly what you're saying as well. So my basis is cognitive behavioral as well. And one of the things I teach people is like, sometimes people are doing things for themselves. It's not necessarily against you. You may be caught in the crossfire, but that's not what
Most
they set
most
out.
time most times people
Yeah.
and understanding that this is more about them because they don't know me. This is more about them. Understanding that, I'm saying, wow, what are you experiencing? And it pauses me from being so angry and it helps me see them as a person, a terrible person, but a person
Yes.
living their own experience. And I'm not gonna judge them because at one point I was probably a terrible person. I've been a villain in somebody's story, so this is not about for me to demonize or judge. I'm not here to judge. I am here to experience. I'm here
Yes.
to add to my experience and to make it wealthy and rich and valuable and for me. So I don't have time for that. Like,
Yeah. So growing up with the narcissistic or emotionally unavailable mother, it can really leave invisible scars. So when did you first realize that your upbringing had shaped your boundaries or lack of boundaries?
um, I realized very early on because of what I would do when I would have to tell a person no. So when I was when I was 7 years old, I had a bully friend. And that friend that gets around you just to pick on you, break stuff. So she tore the head off of one of my celebration Barbies. If you know, like the Christmas version Barbies.
Yeah.
And she was like, "This is stupid. I don't know why your mom buys you all these dumb toys, and you should tell her that this is terrible." And do do do. But my mother would buy me things out of guilt because she wasn't spending a lot of time with me, so it was easy for me to get on board with that. It was just like, well, she is just buying this stuff because she doesn't spend time with me. Like, it was logical for me at that age. So she made me break one of my toys with her. And I didn't want to, but I didn't want to say no because
Yeah.
I was accustomed to no or non-compliance in my house was always met with some type of repercussion of violence. And my mother was very physically violent, and they just call it, oh, just getting a whooping. But there's no reason your child should have open welts from head to
Yeah.
toe, splitting. There's no reason for that. That's not discipline. This is um your version of therapy. So I didn't, and that was my relationship to no. I would never say it. And if I had to say it, I will always brace, oh, what's gonna be. So I would always need some kind of a reassurance after I would say no. Like I would need the person to say, "Oh, it's fine. It's okay. It's okay." And I needed that or my heart would be beating a mile a minute. I was 7.
Yeah.
I
I'm
was
wondering,
7.
did you experience that later? Like, were there other times where you were like, I'm having this tug of war because I don't want to do this, but I don't want to say no?
Yeah, a lot of women have when, we speak about, coercion rape.
Yes.
Where does that come from? You don't wanna say no because you don't wanna say no because you wanna stay safe. Who taught you that? And I experienced that also, and I had to ask myself, "Where did I learn this from? Where did I get this idea from?" Again, tracing it back, not to blame, but so I can identify those things within myself and say, "Okay, when I feel like this is what this is about, and I don't need to do anything."
Yeah.
Sometimes anxiety makes you feel like you need to do something just to, you
Yeah,
don't need to
I
do
do.
anything. Just sit with it for a while. Sometimes it's already done. Sometimes the thinking is the doing. Um, just beginning to trace those things back were healing for me. Like most people will say, "Oh, you just talk about it so much, you must not be over it." No, not only am I over it, I've designed a roadmap to go back and get other people. I'm over it. I can see the bird's eye view. You're right. I
Yeah.
can see how it happened, and I can see how I still acted out these same processes with other people. I had to block a commenter yesterday who said on my people pleasers or manipulators video, that's not true. People pleasers aren't trading they're not trading their services for attention and love. And I said, well, why else are they doing it?
Yeah.
They're trying to manipulate an outcome. Please like me. I want you to be likable to me. So I'm going to overgive to you.
Yeah, and
That's
overdo and overperform, but I think that that also comes with abuse that's tied to giving, because you learn that, like, at least in my point of view, right? My mom was the same. She was very abusive and she bought me everything I wanted. So it was like the price I paid. The only time was giving. So what I did was as I grew up, I overgave, I overshared, I overshowed up, I overdid everything because Now then I thought, "I'm just showing up, I'm dependable and everything." I never saw it as, like, manipulation or anything like that.
But we're manipulating an outcome though, because this is what I want you to do. You're going to do what I want you to do, even if it's a good thing for me. But the key in manipulation is you trying to influence another person's behavior. It doesn't matter what you feel like the outcome is. It's manipulating an outcome.
Yes. So you help people to see that, and then
Sometimes they get angry because they feel like that is their personality, but they don't understand the difference between their personality and their programming. And I like to walk people through that. Now, I'm gonna hold your hand, and sometimes I might not because my content does come across a bit edgy, and it's because it's supposed to.
yes, and I think
I
that
get a lot of
people
flack for that too.
you do. I can see some of it at times. And, I think that people mistake speaking up, talking about the truth as lacking compassion, whereas you're saying, like, no, I am compassionate. That's why I can see both sides of this, is why I cannot internalize what other people are doing.
Yeah, when my mother and I went no contact, and we've done this 3 times. 3 times. Because I didn't know how. Because I still wanted my mom, and I still needed her in my life. Not for validation, but because my mom has so many great qualities. She's funny as hell. She knows every song on the radio. It doesn't matter what genre. Like, if we had a show where it was like, "Name that tune," we would win,
Right.
okay? She is hilarious, very sociable, social butterfly, very smart, very smart, and she's also a overcomer in her own right. She was stalked in Michigan, and she passed a law with Michigan legislation so the stalkers would have to be on tether. Like, she did not just take being stalked lying down, she fought back. So my mother is not a bad person. She just was not a good mother. And she wasn't available, in the ways that I needed her to be available. And the way that she showed up in my life was different than the way that she showed up in everyone else's. So I can acknowledge truly both sides of this. She's not a bad person, and to completely demonize the whole denies me of the whole experience.
Right.
All bad, but those parts of it um that I lived were traumatizing. She didn't know how to mother because her own mother did not mother her. She didn't wanna be a mama, she didn't know how to be no mama. She didn't know how to do no nurturing. That was it. She knew how to buy things. There was no hugs, there was no emotional connection. If you made a mistake, it was you get nailed to the cross for it. Physically abusive, parentified me, made me work for free, made me feel like I wasn't, worthy of love and attention that wasn't tied to my service, which taught me to carry that into dating relationships.
Right. Okay.
Most women do. We blame ourselves, but this stuff has a source. And once you source it, you say, "Ooh, I'm not trying to love him. He's a surrogate for my mom.
Yep.
He's a surrogate for my dad." Then he stops being your type.
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
but until you realize that, you're still gonna pick the same type of person, right? So this thing is really it's really multi-layered. And for people to say that I'm not compassionate, I think that might be one of the largest pet peeves, and not because they're misunderstanding me, but because they're not gaining the fullness from my content. It's like you're missing half of the meal.
Mhm.
You have to see the compassion in it to understand that that is part of healing.
Yes, and talking about it does not mean it is not healed. Talking about it is sometimes what we do in different stages as we heal, because healing is continuous.
Well, and when it's been in your head for so long, you don't know. Is this me? Am I crazy? Is it just me? Am I wrong? It has to come out so that you're able to sort your thoughts, kind of like writing them on a whiteboard. And we deserve that time. So if we continue to push it down to dress up and play healed, if we push it down and say, I'm over that, but we haven't touched it. And every time we open our closet, it's popping out like the ghost of Christmas past. then it's something that's holding you back in other areas of your life that you may not be cognizant of.
Respect the speaking about it because I see that it changes over time. So it's like what we talk about healing this year, 2 years from now, it's a completely different picture. So it's so important to have the record, whether it's online, journaling, anything that can show you the progress because we always can revert back to our conditioning.
I'm telling you, depending on the people that you're around, I just said I can't be around emotional, erratic people because it put me back into my preset modes.
Yeah.
Y'all don't
And you've
listen to
already worked those.
that Tiff have been put away. We are not doing that. We are in a new phase of our lives. We are married with a dog. Okay. We not going down that road. Okay. Because
Right.
y'all don't want to see people like that.
Yes, and I always say that because people come into therapy and they're like, "This person will take me out of character," and I'm like, so many times people are just putting you in what already is there.
A need for you to cut up. And that's another thing. I am so stubborn and defiant. Very heavy on the FU energy. You're not going to control me. I'm in control of me. And the fact that you thought you were going to control me is just, it makes me really want to not give you what you want. So if I know that you're trying to agitate me, I don't just stop there. I don't just say, oh, you're a bad person because every time you come around, you try to irritate me. I ask myself why. Because nothing happens for no reason. I say that all the time. Why are they doing this? I want you to ask the why question. Do they need for you? When are they doing it? Are they provoking you around mixed company?
And then people see that side of you, which fits the narrative they're painting of you.
Yeah. So I'm gonna hold you by your hand and I'm gonna lead you down the trail of ideas. And then when you think about it like that, it's like I'm not giving them the satisfaction. But until you run down that who, what, when, where, why, it feels like being the bigger person. It feels like being holier than thou. That's what it sounds like I'm asking a person to do by saying, don't react. Oh no, just don't react. What? I'm just supposed to let them abuse me? No, I don't want you to react. I want you to go inward and ask yourself why this person decided that this moment was the time that they needed to demonize you. What have they said? Who have they said it to? It's time for you to turn into an investigator and not a boxer. I'm not asking you to just suck it up. I would never. I'm asking you to be strategic. I always tell my mentees do not be emotional in a space where you need to be strategic.
Yes, and you're not asking them to not react because they can take it. You're asking them to not be controlled by somebody else who has an agenda. I
Yeah.
hear that, but how do people receive it?
Um, they don't like it until they try it. And then they try it and they texted me in the middle of the night. Tiff, I did it. I did it. You should have seen their face. Because what it really shows is that you have the emotional maturity to dominate. And I as an Aries enjoy that aspect of things. Okay. I'm in control. And I know that I like control. I like it for myself first. And I notice that when I control myself, I'm well in control of others. So when I paint it like that and when I serve it that way, they fall into it and then they adopt it as their new personality because they enjoy not being easily triggered. They enjoy the study of the people around them and knowing, are you safe to be around?
You developed that feminine but firm method. What does that mean? And how can women be practicing this daily?
So, Feminine but Firm was my first baby. And well, to tell you that story, I probably have to tell you another one first. So, I'm I'm married now. I'm living in Florida, South Florida, living the life of my dreams with the man of my dreams. And if you would have told me that I would have been here 4 years ago, I would have told you you were lying because I was married and living in Michigan, a homemaker, just a homemaker before I had even started my life coaching business, was not thinking about starting a life coaching business. This was not on my radar. I became a homemaker. And my aesthetic was really popular at the time that Nara Smith and everybody was coming out. I just didn't post on TikTok. I posted Instagram, I posted Facebook. And then I started getting negative comments and I'm like, "All right, I'm not doing this." Because I would get not just like, "Oh, she's a pick me." I mean, when I say a negative comment, I can't wait to do this for a man someday. And I was in my apron single. I was already like, this is my aesthetic. This is who I am
Yeah.
naturally. In an apron, because I don't want to mess my clothes up, house clean early, because I enjoy thinking and living and existing in a clean space. And I love challenging myself to new recipes. I could cook. So, and not, I mean, I challenge myself to tasting menus. I do date nights. I'll send you some menus so you can see what I'm talking
Awesome.
about.
Yeah, please.
I put ostrich on my husband's plate and he ate it. Okay. It was amazing though. It was amazing because I know how to treat it. So whatever. I was getting so many women coming to try to learn how to be submissive. And I would say, "Well, tell me about the guy." And they would describe a man who I wouldn't give a piece of gum to.
Yeah.
So it made me like, okay, well, I don't want to handle you because I don't like the way that women are handled. When they don't know something, oh, you just dumb, you stupid. I don't handle any woman like that. How can I be responsible with the advice that I give? I went and got certified.
Right. That's the way, because if you wanna teach other people, you gotta make sure that you know what you're talking about, not
You
just your
can't
own
just
experience.
get online spouting opinions with no certification. And I'm not saying that you can't. You absolutely can. This is the world we're living in. So let me take that back. You can do whatever you want. It's not for me to put any restrictions on you because I don't know how good your advice is. So I'll retract that statement. But for me, dealing with women who were so fragile, I could see the service on them. I could see that they wanted to be of service to someone, but they hadn't had the idea to be service to themselves. They didn't understand that everything my ex-husband got was my overflow. I'm feminine already. I'm soft already. This is what I have. And he's also contributing. The relationship is reciprocal. I would not be doing this for a demon. And I need for you to understand that you can be feminine and firm. You do not have to be a doormat. Doormat dummy is not required in femininity. Okay. I don't, because my femininity is so powerful. I don't want anybody to think that it would just be for a man. If I just use my femininity for a man, I will be using 4% of it.
Right.
My womb is a creator more than just for a man's seed, but for every idea. And every concept, every topic I talk about is filtered through my womb space. I am a creator, divinely, a portal for everything. So I don't ever want a woman to think that I'm telling you, "Oh, just go put your apron on and be a do 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 do." So performative, right? There was an article written, and no shade to the writer. I know her personally. She wanted to cover it. She covered it. And she left in a lot of what I said. I'm not gonna say she took anything out. I While I was a homemaker, I also had started several businesses. So, more than just my coaching businesses, I had, drop shipping businesses and just I didn't retire because I was stupid. He didn't retire me because I was a mindless idiot. He retired me because my job was not using me to my full potential, and when I came home, money just flows to me. It enjoys being with me.
Yeah.
Jump right into the bank account. But only when I'm not blocked by other people's desires for me. Like I need my freedom. So that's why I retired. And I wrote an article saying that women should think about that. Like the magic that you're giving away to a boss that you did not pick is obscene. So come home. If you have the desire to homemake and you work, bring your work home, but figure out a way to make it work for you and your community. This is the totality of the article, right? The headline said, "Woman thinks that women should stay home." So people were responding. They were responding to the title of the article. Like they didn't read that. Now, some people did. They're like, yeah, she's a housewife, but not taking into account the 3 businesses that she runs, and I'm like,
Yes.
"That's what I'm saying."
So they captured it under a different lens than what you
They
were.
drugged me on nationally syndicated radio for 4 hours after the article came out. You know those morning shows?
Yes.
Our local morning show was a nationally syndicated morning show. So they drugged me for 4 hours, and I
Whoa.
cried. And they are asking callers to call in. Would you add your wife to the wife school? She tells women to lay out their husband's clothes by 6 a.m. And I'm like, I'm getting this shit dry cleaned. I'm pulling it out the closet, taking the plastic off.
Okay.
He's gone by 7. I don't have any children. So I was a homemaker with no kids, all because I decided to give him the big piece of chicken. And you think that there is something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Help me understand. Like I was so gutted after because I was being genuine. But then in those comments, like I said, seeing them with compassion, I'm like, something didn't happen to you for you
Yeah,
to
that's
think
you.
this
That's your
because you don't
conditioning.
know
Because you didn't
me.
even hear what I said, and I think that's why that not reacting part is so important, because you're hearing things differently than people, and people are saying things differently than what you mean.
Listen, you can only receive on a level that you understand. And when I began to see those comments with compassion, because if Imma get over it, I have to understand it. It's just
Absolutely.
that's my process. I have to get it. And once I understand it, even if I don't like it, I can move on. I can move on. I get it. I understand. Yeah, I don't take it personally. I know that this is you. So I'm hearing the wounds of the women who are so scared. Well, I don't even know what I would do at home all day long. And I said, so someone else has been in control of your time for your entire 30 plus years that you wouldn't know what to do with it if someone had gifted it back. Mm. Another woman said, well, I didn't read the article, but I don't like it. And I said, well, okay, this is why you need a boss because I don't feel safe with you thinking by yourself because you need something to do. You need a structure for your day, 2 15s and an hour break. That's where we are with you.
And people want to do that, and that's one thing that makes this process really hard for healing, is because people are conditioned to believe, I don't care what somebody does to you, if they have a title in your life, they belong there, and you have no right to leave your mom behind, and you have every right when it impacts your creativity, the womb stuff you're talking about, you have the right to keep your space safe enough for you to produce what life has for you and use your gifts.
And I don't know why we feel so much guilt.
I don't know why they feel so much guilt.
Well, you know what? You know what? I actually do. I talk about this in my book. Let me read this part. For those of you who had a book, it's on page 82. It says, if you wait, let's just, first of all, you're scared to try to explain it to other people. That's why you won't cut the relationship off. And the way that they are trying to guilt you into feeling is the way that you wish you felt. I wish I had a mother that I couldn't disconnect from. I wish I had a mother that I love so much. I wish I had a mother that I could, I would move heaven and hell for. I wish. I wish that I could pick out a card for my mother in the aisle without feeling a pit in the middle of my stomach. I wish. I wish. It don't feel right. And then if you're black, and I hate to make this a race thing, but we know. So in the book says, then if you're black, you must carry one more unbearable thing, the silence of the pain that you feel, because you can't share this without judgment. In our communities, the matriarch they're sacred. Mothers are everything. They are celebrated, protected, exalted. They are the reason many of us made it through. The strength of Black motherhood has been the backbone of survival across generations, and still that truth exists beyond beside another, a quieter one. Not every mother was well. Not every mother was safe. Not every mother was emotionally available or capable of love in the way that her child needed, yet we're taught to protect them no matter the cost. Gush about them on Mother's Day,
Mhm.
post pictures with captions we wish we felt.
Yeah.
And it was important for me to put that in this book. This is that portion of it because I carry this and I want to say something, but every time I say something, I have to deal with another person's perception, which is why I don't care what people think, even when it's good. Even if people have a high esteem of me, I cannot internalize that. I can't have anything moving me from my journey. I'm grateful for the high esteem. But if I collect that, then what guards my integrity? I
Yeah.
need I don't need the big head right now. Like I know what I'm saying is profound because I experienced it and then I coached hundreds of women. I've been coaching for 3 years now.
Yeah.
So, I never finished that story, huh? So my ex was a teacher and this is also connected to the article because girl, after all of this came out, they really went back and found the article and drugged me for hell. Okay.
Yeah.
So my ex-husband was a teacher, minister of music of our church, did private piano lessons, but was charged with 5 counts of child molestation, crimes against children, publicly, in the paper, everywhere. He was a middle school teacher. His victims were in between 11 and 13, on trial for it because he wouldn't plead. For in Detroit too, Detroit this
Right. So everybody's knowing about it. There's no way to escape this for you, then.
oh, there was a way because I was a housewife, but I wasn't stupid. And I always had and I tell women all the time, you don't need to be a mindless idiot. As a matter of fact, you need to have your fingers in all the details because you need to know if something happens where your exit plan is. You can still be in love and have an exit plan. You just being out there with no safety net is not required for love. I don't love my
Right.
husband any less. Okay. He still gets all the same love from me on a daily basis, but I am not a fool. So I found out about the charges within 6 weeks. I lived in Miami, sold my house, paid my car off, put my stuff in storage, packed 3 suitcases and my dog,
And you
and
left.
it was in a new state before they had even charged him. I heard whispers on the wind of an investigation, and my house was on the market by Wednesday. I'm not playing with you
Right.
because by then I had built a successful coaching career. I had formed a LLC with my last name. Every business that I had my last name tied to it. I was baking under my last name. I was modeling still, but under our entertainment umbrella because he was a singer. I sang, we would do gigs together. We were always together. I was in every choir he had. Like we were very intertwined. So for me to exist like that comfortably, I needed to know I had an exit strategy. And I moved, met the love of my life, moved to the suburbs, got married, like started life
Yeah.
over.
Dream
Very
and
little trauma.
having the dream life that you're talking about.
Well, I made it. I built it. That's why I talk like this about it. That's why I speak so matter of factly about it because if I could cut my own mother off, I could cut him off. I don't believe children make things like that up. I was molested as a child. I don't believe that children make things like that up. They don't have that in them. Children are not inherently sexual beings. They are babies. They're inquisitive about a whole lot of things, but not that unless it's been exposed to them in that way.
What flack did you get after this article and everything came out about those charges?
There is a very large creator on TikTok. I mean like 300,000 followers. Did a green screen of the article with me in the apron. Yeah, remember that name. And he was charged with crimes against children, but she was telling women to be submissive. And I didn't see it originally because when I moved down here, I needed to heal. So I had coon. So I'm not digesting a lot of social media because at this moment I can't. I have people sending me my mother the article, my grandmother the article. The news was at my house. They
Yeah.
were popping up at my old house. They were interviewing my old neighbors. He was the president of the association board. So I couldn't ingest a lot of anything. I wasn't even taking text.
So you disconnected.
I had to. I had to because when you that's not something you ever suspect. So, yeah, made the video and people are in the comments like, "That's not what Tiffany teaches. She's never taught us to be dumb." And because I've always run my business with integrity, I had people defending me in moments that I couldn't. I also got a lot of flack for leaving.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
When we decided to end the marriage, he was the only child. It was just him, his elderly parents, and his grandmother. So the whole family I took care of. And we spent every Sunday together for Sunday dinner. I cooked every single Sunday, went to 2 church services with them. We were locked in, locked in, okay? Like, I have changed diapers over there for the grown folk.
Right.
So, locked in. So when I decided that we were gonna divorce, because I told him straight out, I'm not doing this, but I don't have to leave nasty. So let's go and sit down with your parents and let's tell them because, they don't like kids. They haven't done anything to me as far as I'm concerned. So I can go and sit with them and say, "We're ending it. This is how this is gonna go. I'm moving. Do do do. Let's just say our goodbyes here." We sitting down with his parents, girl. We tell him everything. And I said, "Oh, and we're also getting a divorce." And his mother looked at me and was like, "Why you leaving? Is it because you embarrassed about the charge?" Embarrassed? I
What?
want children. What kind of woman would I be to bring children into the house with a man that I know is this way?
Right.
Who who am I?
You're breaking
How could
cycles. There's no way you could take any kind of risk and you wouldn't.
his dad looked at me and I had just got back from a doctor's appointment the week before with his dad. I had took off some time. I wasn't doing sessions. I'm sitting in the hospital with him because he won't eat right. He looked at me and said, "Well, I guess that just means your love had conditions." Nigga, never jumped up out my seat. You know that Hot 97 video, a Soldier Boy when they was interviewing him, he jumped up from the deck. Me.
Yep. That was you. What happened?
I get up and I storm out, I leave. Because at this point, y'all taking me back to my presets.
Yeah.
And I might forget who you are. I might forget that you're 86 and 71, and I might swing on you.
Okay.
I was raw. I had just found out, like, he told me he was suspended from work for something else. And an incident that did happen on that day, so it was coverable. So he had been suspended with pay for like a year and a half. And his attorney from the union called him while we were setting up his classroom for another school
Mhm.
because he had left the school and went to high school. But that was something we had already talked about. He was a choir teacher. He wanted bigger choirs. So all of this was in alignment. I'm helping him clean out the classroom at the moment that I found out. I had been cleaning all day. It was 4 o'clock. And if you know anything about what them classrooms look like, they don't do anything for the educators. You have to go in there and invest.
Yeah.
His classroom dipped. He had, I had hung drapes. He had lamps, rugs. There was a sectional in there.
Yeah.
It looked nice because I want to cultivate an environment for the children to be comfortable to open up. Singing is not something that um, comes easily. So I had just done all of that when I found out and then went to tell his parents because I knew then I don't need nothing. I don't have to think about a thing.
Yeah.
Call the realtor, list the house. Let's go. Let's liquidate. I paid my car off
Mhm.
and waited for my title. While I was already in Florida, I had to go back to Michigan to get my title. I was not
Mhm.
around.
I hear
I
you.
ran life.
Yeah.
And, took some time to heal. And once I healed, my husband found me, and I wasn't scared to remarry at
Yeah.
all. It with a smile on my face at one of the most beautiful museums in Miami. And now living the dream. And what if I would have stayed stagnant in that? Hurt. Oh, look what he did to me. Victimhood.
Or even, that's why I'm so impressed by all the coaching, but I wanted to know what do you tell people who are afraid to talk about it? Like sometimes people, there's so much ridicule. People are like, why did you pick a man who did this? Why would you leave? If you stay, why did you stay? If you didn't notice, why didn't you notice? Like they are master manipulators. There is not a lot of tells.
I tell them all the time, and I am taking the ladies in my group through a book called The Art of Thinking Clearly. We do book clubs, and I like to take the chapters apart and break them down. So this is the perfect question for this. We talk about confirmation bias all the time, right? But we very rarely talk about hindsight bias. I told them, after it's a natural thing for a person to look back and say, what did I miss? Right? Especially a person that's inquisitive like I am and, likes attention to detail. And I'm looking back at like, was this a sign? Or was this a sign? And I found myself hypersensitive to hindsight bias because it's easy to look back and say this little thing meant a big thing, but without context, you don't really know.
It's only in hindsight could you possibly think that. So how could you beat yourself up for what you did not know or were not aware of?
So release it. Because when people tell me that they have a fear, and that's what I tell them, take a deep breath with me. I want you to release it. I give them journal prompts custom for their particular situation. And I require them to be answered in a time period because you're not just going to shove this in a drawer. We make a movement on this thing today, today. And if you didn't want to move today, you wouldn't have came to see me.
Exactly.
There are easier and cheaper ways to run from your problems. You wouldn't have came to see me if you wanted to, hold on to that same thing. So they don't like it, girl. They be twisting and shouting, fussing and hollering, kicking and screaming, but they gonna do what I tell them to do anyway because they want to be where I am.
Yep.
And it ain't easy to get here. You got to do the work. Now, the ease depends on you. Are you gonna do what I told you to do just the way I told you to do it? Or are you gonna add something to my recipe? You're gonna add some breaks. You're gonna take some pit stops because if you do that, I can't guarantee that you're going to get free from that thing. I convince them that the outside voices only bother you because they mirror something that you feel inside. So instead of being ashamed of what they're saying, let's find it. Let's find where that is in you.
Mhm.
Let's source what it is. Let's tie it back. Let's circumnavigate it. We're designing an experience. What you did yesterday is nobody's business. Who are you going to be tomorrow? You get to decide. And are you going to decide to carry this with you? Because I know that shit is heavy. I talk to them like this, and they are more inclined to drop it.
It
They're more
creates
inclined.
stagnation if you're carrying it all with you.
It's heavy. And, with them, I also have them go and do, if it's something they're internalizing too much, just to tie in the mental with the physical. And I like to do this a lot. I know a lot of therapists do. I'm gonna have her doing breaking exercise. Go and get you some plain white plates from the Dollar Tree and some Sharpies and unload on them things. And I don't want you just to break it in your house. Take it for a walk because I
Yeah.
want you to carry the weight of that thing. I want you to feel it. I want you to
Mhm.
feel how heavy all of this has been on you. And then I want you to start to get excited because now we're in a place where we're about to break this shit up off of us. Yes, it's heavy right now, but in a few minutes, in a few seconds, I'm going to be able to discard this thing. And then I can decide who I want to be without the clutter in a clear space. Not because I've been bad for so long, but because I absolutely deserve it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make them do it as many times as they need to. And after they do the breaking, they get angry because they've sourced it back. So I send them to the rage room. Go tear
Yeah.
some shit up.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what we do. Even in my groups, we go to the rage room. I have seen people cry and leave it there after. It's like they broke the plates, hit the cups with a bat. And when they're done, we can close that door and we can bolt it.
Mhm. And and when I bolt it, I don't shame them for wanting to go and sit outside the door and
Right.
feel the heat of the anger because anger is cyclical and there is really no one and done thing. There may
Right.
be another thing that leads you back. I bolt the door. You can sit outside of it, but we're not going back to the anger that we were at before.
No, if we even if we had to open the door, we're bringing something else in. This isn't so, like, for you and me, like, one thing that I want everybody listening to understand is, like, when you're a cognitive behavioral therapist or expert, you believe people know what's best for their life. You believe that if they change the way they think, they can change their behaviors too.
They
So a
can.
lot of what you do is modification and just thinking, and then in return, people can heal and continue to heal after they're done working with.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't plan to keep you forever. The group came about because I wasn't planning to keep them forever. Feminine but Firm was a course. It was 6 weeks, and it dealt with boundaries in your life, with your family, at work, with yourself, and your friends. It had 2 books. It was, I had a thick packet of materials. The girls recorded unboxing video. It was adorable. It really was an adorable time. But after that 6 weeks was over, they didn't wanna leave. So I created Feminine but Firm, the subscription group, and they just transitioned over there. So from 2022, they have been in the same monthly subscription group
Well,
with me, and
yeah.
I've just been adding women to it. They created the program because they didn't wanna graduate. But they're in different phases of their lives now. So many of them have clients who've left big law and started their own businesses, C-suite executives who learn how to negotiate, 3 weddings, 2 babies, countless chains broken, boundaries being set up, and now they get the more directed content because I call that like my high school because if you can conquer the self concepts that I speak about on my regular TikTok page, then you'll understand the way that I coach for marriage minded Mondays. We talk about it Tuesdays, trauma fueled, Wednesdays. We do recipes and we cook and I'm going live and I'm going to give perspectives, but they also get journal prompts for each day that are tied to the lessons that I've taught in each video. It's a very, very involved group. So I expect progress. I'm expecting you to grow into the person that you told me you wanted to be. Now, you ain't got to turn into me. You can be just as feminine in hoop shorts. You don't have to put on an apron.
And a lot of it was tailored to them as well, like, going into
It's
it,
all
right?
tailored to them. It's all tailored to them. If they get into it enjoying something that I like, I help them find that in themselves. I do not wanna be anyone's idol. That's too heavy of a responsibility for me
Yeah.
because I've learned that, when I was posting on Facebook just baking bread or cookies or recipes and stuff like that, I would find that there would be housewives who would come along and idolize me. But then if I made a post about sex or something edgy or something kind of funny, then they would come along and say, "Oh, well, you shouldn't be cussing. You call yourself a feminine woman and you curse like that and you talk like that and you do." So they began to judge me because they thought that I was perfect. And I tell them, I only want to be a mirror for you to find yourself. Please never idolize me. I'm not looking for that. I
Yeah.
already feel really good about myself. I don't need to have throngs of people. "Oh, Tiffany." I'd rather not because there's a heavy responsibility, because there's a heavy critique that comes with that. And a lot of influencers, I don't know if they knew it before, but they absolutely know it now. When
Yeah.
people feel entitled to you, they behave differently. So they get into it liking something about me. They leave liking a whole lot about themselves because I can see them and I can see their greater qualities that they've been pushing down due to negative self speak. I help them find their gifts. We are writing business plans. We are writing meal plans for husbands. We are doing date night. I'm teaching about steak and BJ day. These girls are equipped and they make me so incredibly proud on a daily basis. The group is the most fulfilling work that I've ever done in my entire existence because I get to see it reflected in so many lives in real time,
Uh-huh.
them choosing themselves in real time. It's all I need. It really is. I don't need the idolizing or anything like that. Just seeing them win is so I be crying. I'm sensitive. Be crying.
Love your humility about this because I think when you get on social media and you're an influencer too, not just the coach like you are, but a lot of people, it's self-fulfilling. It's for them. And so for you, you're like rolling the ball back. It's like, and they can pick it up. It's for them. You're doing this because you know how to do it. And I can teach you, but you're still going to be you. After you're done, you're going to be the best version of you probably in this
You're gonna
space.
be you're gonna be you for the very first time, because most of us have trauma presets. I didn't have a personality. I didn't know who I was until I was 31. I was operating on who I had to be to survive my emotionally erratic up and down upbringing. My mother was young. She was young. She didn't want a baby. She Being a mother was not part of her plan at that moment. And I think that if she had her choice, she would have healed a bit first. She just, and understanding that, and then trying to navigate having a baby on Detroit's east side, no car. I was born in spring, so she had a baby in the summer, and then into Detroit winter. My grandmother did not help her do anything. So a lot of that frustration she took out on me, and my personality developed into a person who could handle that.
Right.
So once I began to heal, it's like, well, what do I like? Who am I?
Mhm.
I didn't know who I was, which is why we turn into people pleasers, because we don't have, once we've matriculated out of our parents' hard knock university,
Right.
we we find surrogates, because now we don't know we don't know who to serve. We've spent our lives living like this, so this is what I know. Now, I
Yeah.
don't quite know peace, but I do know transactional relationships, and that you're going to be expecting something from me. So I could just learn you and give. It made me hyper aware to everybody and nothing to myself. So when I began to heal, it was an opportunity for me to meet me, because I didn't know who I was.
So we're not recovering who you were before. We are discovering like, who am I now at this stage?
What do you like? What do you want to do? And a lot of my childhood rage came from not knowing who I was and not having an opportunity to develop a personality. And that led me into being used. So I was angry. I was so angry. And then I asked myself, well, what did you want? What kind of childhood would you have liked to have? I started there. And then I started to give it to myself. Well, I always wanted more attention, not just gifts. I just wanted her to ask me how I was. So every day I asked myself, Tiff, how are you today? What do you need today? Do you have everything you need today? What could I do to make your day easier for you? Every day I start like that before my feet hit the floor. I love you so much, Tiffany. You, for you to be doing what you're doing after dealing with what you dealt with, I appreciate you. So how can I make your life easier? What would you like? You want 15 minutes outside on your patio with some coffee, your feet kicked up before you do emails? Yeah. All right, let's do that for you. I lay my pajamas out. I treat myself very softly. Everything that I do for a man, I've already done for myself. My husband gets the overflow. You'll hear me say that a lot, like, because in loving myself that way, that's how I drew his love to me. You don't get what you don't give yourself. If you hate yourself, you're gonna find a partner that hates you. It's nature. Nature is good. The universe says, "Oh, you like this? You like self-hate? Well, Imma bring you some partners that's gonna give you that too."
Yeah, and well, let's continue that narrative. That's why cycle breaking is so important,
Mhm,
you know? So
mhm, mhm.
I love how you talk about the overflow because as I'm sitting here with you, it's one thing to hear somebody say something on social media. It's another thing to know they live it. Like this is not you're not selling people dreams here. You are helping people reach their dreams through the work.
And I'm not promising you anything. I'm showing you the path, and I will go down it with you. But,
Mhm.
it's funny that you say that you actually live it, because when I went through the public divorce and the public shaming, the group was already in existence. And I pulled away from every social media except that one.
Yeah.
And I continued to post for them. I told them what happened. They got to see me back. I got to explain to them how I had navigated out, but it wasn't a surprise to them because I had already negotiated very heavily for myself in marriage with my spousal 401k and equity built up in other properties and timeshares that I got as gifts because, I wanted very tangible things. And I teach this too, of course. If you're going to ask for something, make sure it's reasonable and make sure it's going to appreciate. And I was able to start a trust for myself. So I made myself a trust fund baby in my marriage because I asked for gifts strategically. I mean, he's buying me stuff anyway. It may as well be something that's going to add to my value. And
Right.
so leaving wasn't a thing for me. It wasn't even like, oh, could I, should I, can I? And not knocking women who that is a thing for. Nobody teaches women this. This is why so many women are afraid of marriage. They're like, oh, I'm not about to get with a man who's doing all of that. Well, find a man who's in alignment with your authentic self and be with him. He ain't
Mhm.
going to be perfect. You ain't perfect. But if you learn how to advocate for yourself and you know that he's emotionally available and stable, there is nothing to fear.
Right.
Nothing to fear. And if it don't work out, release him and move on with your life. So they were able to watch me live through it,
Mhm.
heal, start dating, meet my husband, and get married. They threw me a bridal shower. Well, because I had been telling them all of this while I was happily, cluelessly married. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
had been telling them there's nothing to fear. Everything's going to be okay. Just make sure you're prepared and everything's going to be all right. So when something happened to me, and I started living like that. Not only was it not a surprise, it actually reaffirmed them. So people were concerned, oh, you probably lost so much business and you lost so many people. And I did. I lost a lot of church people who wanted to work with me for feminine but firm in faith
Mhm.
because I see this running rampant in the church and I don't like it. And I spent 6 years as a minister's wife, so I know that which of I speak, okay?
Mhm.
I've seen that. So I was gonna expand the program, but I've seen them just pull away. Nobody checked on me, nobody wanted to know what was going on, and I shared all of those things with them.
Yeah.
So not only did they get to see it fall apart, they got to see me rebuild, they got to see it rebuild, and I
Mhm.
didn't lose an ounce of my integrity. I
Right.
don't drag my ex on social media because that's not a part of my story.
Right.
That's not a part of my story,
That's
and
his story.
Imma tell you what I say. "Tiffany, what are you gonna do? Are you scared to date? Oh my god, you're dating." And I was like, "Girl, that like kids, these like me, I don't have anything to be worried about.
Okay.
Have you seen me? Okay, well, let's keep it moving."
But I wanted to talk about that because I feel like when I'm working with clients, they don't have self-esteem a lot of times. It's just so low. What would you tell those people that are, like, really struggling with the way they feel about themselves?
Well, I wouldn't tell them anything, I would ask them how they felt about themselves, and I would listen to the descriptors, and then I would ask them, "What's the earliest memory that they can remember feeling like that?" And 9 times out of 10, they were children. And this has been a practiced thought. And with anything practiced, you're going to it's going to make it stronger, right? If I got up and I practiced every single day for an hour, looking in the mirror and telling myself that I wasn't shit, then chances are I would go through life feeling like I wasn't shit, right? Like, oh,
Right,
I would internalize that. And like we talked about with the art of thinking clearly, I would find confirmation for that bias.
right,
They've spent their entire lives taking their parents' negative self speak, that negative internal voice, and their life experience gives them confirmation bias. So it's harder for them to break up with it. It's not as easy as, well, just think highly of yourself. You
right.
have to do it repetitively and with practice. Also, the thing that helped me break up with my mother's negative voice is compassion, because
Mhm.
most of that shit was about her. It wasn't
Yeah,
about me. She wasn't really speaking to me. I hadn't developed yet. I was 5.
yeah.
I hadn't had enough time to be stupid. hadn't had, hadn't had enough time to be a liar all my life. I haven't had enough time to do those things. She was talking about herself.
Yes.
And then, I mean, because it's a 4 or 5-part process. I don't want people to think that it sounds holier than thou. Because when you look at a person and they're speaking highly of themselves like I do, it's like, "Oh, well, that's fine for her, but what about me?" I've heard this so much with people, and I never want them to feel like that, like, "Oh, this is just some holier than thou thing." Oh, no. But I want them to remember that you have to be able to trace this process all the way back. This is not just feel better about yourself. Okay, no, it's we don't even start there. We're
Mhm.
gonna start with when is the first time you felt like shit about yourself? Where did this come from? So you've been
Mhm.
carrying it all your life? Okay, so tell me about the times that your life actually reflected this. Talk to me about that. And when I hear those things, I know how much or how little confirmation bias I, as a professional, have to overcome.
Right.
And then I'll work them through custom steps on overcoming that. I never st- I, I never give a person with a chaotic mind meditation as an example or as an assignment because it's going to highlight the chaos in your mind. I never give a person who does not have a high esteem of themselves affirmations as an assignment. That's not your first assignment. I can't because now the affirmations are attempting to compete with those presets that have been confirmed by your life experience because you see what you want to see.
Mhm.
So that's where I start. And I break the chains of lowered self-worth before I ever try to teach boundaries to anyone. I started wanting to give women wife advice on how to be safe financially, emotionally in their marriages because I'm not going to cosplay housewife if there is no safety for me.
Right.
Off rip. I'm not even going to quit my job until I have negotiated for my care well, knowing where to start with people, but um being healed myself and it, the certifications help, girl. I'm telling you, don't try. I
Absolutely.
love the training. So now I have drug rehab is another coaching that I do, especially now I'm in South Florida. We had a really big drug epidemic down here. So I've done a few and just free ones, paid ones, just everything I could soak up to make me better for these people is really what I do.
Yeah, I heard this content creator and she was talking about the difference between boundaries and rules. And she was saying a rule is what you give people to say, like, hey, don't call me after 10. She's like, a boundary is I don't answer my phone after 10. So, if you text me after 10, I'll get back to you in the morning. And I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about boundaries. So, what I wanted to ask was, what are some of the biggest misconceptions about boundaries that you've
Well,
seen?
they don't know the difference between not just a rule, but a demand because you don't set rules with adults.
Yeah.
You can demand from adults. I can demand that you don't call me after 9. That is a demand, right? So I think that the reason I mean, all the misconceptions are there, right? But the reason for the misconception is what drew me because, I'm a root worker at
Mhm.
my core. So I'm like, why don't people know the difference between boundaries and demands? It's because they've never defended themselves before. So setting up those walls and those barriers, it feels like the closest thing to self-protection they've ever had.
Yeah.
They don't they've never done anything, so they don't know the difference. When have our parents didn't teach us no boundaries? Your mama taught you boundaries?
You didn't have it. What you belonged to them. You better not even run outside and skin your knee. Okay?
You don't have no privacy in my house, you better not close no door. What you mean you don't like that? You better sit at the table and eat it until it's gone. What do you mean you uncomfortable with Uncle Terry? He allowed to touch you and hug you. Go and hug that man. When have our parents ever taught us a boundary? And when I saw people setting hard rules and calling them boundaries, these are attempts at self protection. Okay. I understand, again, compassion, right? Attempts at self protection. Now, how do I teach them the difference?
Mhm.
The boundary begins with you. Even if, and the boundary is determined by your follow through. So, for example, if you said, Tiffany, I don't take calls after 7 o'clock. And this is a boundary that you have. I don't take calls. Perfect. It's I behavior. A boundary
Mhm.
starts with I, first of all, because it dictates what you will do
Mhm.
if something happens. Now, you don't have to change your behavior. Setting a true boundary does not dictate another person's behavior. You can't.
Right.
However, I can tell you what I'm going to do. If I don't answer calls after 7, I don't deal with that, right? But if I answered the phone at 7:50 and said, "Why you calling me after 7 o'clock? You know I don't answer calls after 7." First of all, you do answer calls after 7 because you just answered this one.
You're on this call. Yep. It looks like somebody's not adhering to my boundaries, but the truth is not that.
You're not adhering to your boundaries because if you don't answer calls after 7, why your phone in the room?
Right.
If they called, they shouldn't have been none of your business, right?
Right. So that is a I thing. So bound for everybody listening that's like, I cannot set boundaries. It starts with I.
And a lot of people think that their boundaries are failing because the boundaries they're setting are not controlling another person's behavior. Oh, I can't set, they violating my boundaries. They're not violating your boundaries. They're exercising free will. Now you decide what you going to
Right.
do. You said, I don't show up in conversations where I'm consistently judged. If that happens, I get off the phone. Not, you're not allowed to do that to me. They are allowed to do whatever the they want. Now, what you gonna do?
Right.
That's a boundary. What do you do when this happens?
Hmm.
See, I don't engage in gossip and I don't tell people when they're gossiping, oh, girl, I don't talk like that. I change the subject. I don't even have to express the boundary to you because I understand the power and control that I have over the flow of conversation. If I don't like it, I change it. If I can't change it, I change where I am. I'm powerful in all ways. Setting a demand and demanding, that's too much like a request. I'm not going to make those. And
I want to dispel something before you move on because a lot
mhm,
of times people think, like in this community, in the whole estranged parents that engage with us adult, adult children who are no contact or whatever, they believe that we're just running from things. They believe that like we set a boundary and when things are going, not going our way, we have a tantrum and we run away and cut everybody off. And that is not what boundaries is about.
they know better. They know better, but we all provide ourselves justifications when things don't go our way, they don't make sense, or when the person that we've been in a relationship with like this, our relationship has been like this the entire time. Now it looks like this. Their cognitive dissonance requires an explanation. This is more about them, less about you. If you feel like this is whatever justification you need. But if you ask them directed questions, has your child ever sat down with you and said, can we have a relationship that looks like this instead of like this? And the parent flew off the handle. If the child is in their exploration phase, and they say, I was tracing back some things that I do in my present life, and this is what it comes from. Can you talk to me about why that happened? And the parent, I did the best I could. I was a great mother. Well, I'm attempting to have contact with you several times in ways that will fill in the blanks for me, that will help me move forward. So I'm not demonizing you for what you did then. This is more about um, the stonewalling now. Now, I'm not trying to hold you accountable just so I can say, nah, nah, boo boo, I got something over on you. I need for you to say these words because until people get to the point where I am, where I just don't care, that's 10 miles ahead. When you're in the beginning part, you feel like you need to hear your parents say the words, this happened to you. I didn't know what I was doing, and I apologize. 3 phrases that would just at least help me get to the point where I can have a clear platform to heal
Right.
instead of having to go the compassion route and understanding the parent. That's the long way around. I got to compassion because I tried to talk to my mom about it and she gave me such a visceral response. It made me want to say, well, shit. Well,
Right.
so it's not a tantrum as much as it is a boundary of last resort because no contact from me is a boundary of last resort. Also, And this is just my personal belief. I'm not saying anyone has to adopt this, but there has never been a door that I have closed that I wasn't prepared to reopen for a healed return. And I've communicated that to my mom. And I've communicated that with any and everybody who was healthy enough to, I saw sparks in them where we could try to cultivate something. The door is closed right now because I don't want to manage my mother's emotions regarding what I feel because it makes the healing process too messy. And I truly wish that that more people would see it like that. I can't micromanage because the energy that I would be spending being my mother's daughter, I needed to reparent my inner child so I could figure out who I was, so that I could
Mhm.
function in the world. You can't function if you don't know who you are. You're easily swayed.
You're
It's hard to.
everybody. That's what I always teach people. It's like you're on a ship and there's no sail. You're going wherever the current takes you. Knowing who you are is that sail. It takes you to shore or wherever else you want to go. When you don't know who you are like a victim because you to circumstances.
But knowing who you are is the switch that moves you from victim to powerful, from victim to creator. Even when I have a negative thought that enters my mind, because it happens, you sometimes those negative thoughts just creep in, a doubt, fear. We are humans having a human experience. So that's part of it, right? I remind myself that the world that exists on the outside of me has been created effortlessly by what's inside me. And if I don't want to experience that anymore, it's as simple as not experiencing it. It sounds oversimplified. It is the thing that calms me. It really is. It cancels the negative thought. If I am divine creator, because I don't believe, no, I'm about to get spiritual here. I don't believe that there is a God up in heaven floating in the clouds somewhere or a devil in hell waiting to drag me down. I
Mhm,
believe that they both exist within me. And the experience I have is the experience I lend my attention to. Now, if I believe that there is a devil who wants the worst for me and always trying to trip me up, then my life is going to reflect that experience. Not because it's true, but because I've created that.
mhm.
So I don't believe in, after spending all that time in the church and, looking at the Bible. I'm sorry if this is offensive to anybody, but it's just not something that I believe that and since I understand that there is no devil pulling the strings and no devil wanting the worst for me, I can just project the best. And every experience I have with everybody in the world I run into, even you, is a reflection of me.
Mhm.
This is not personal against, and it makes me a spectator in my own life. It makes me observer in my own life. I don't take very much personally. I'm able to exist in this space. So I need people to come out of the victim mindset so that they can actually access their Christ consciousness, because this is what Christ was talking about. Every single thing that exists and that you're attributing to God or to the devil is in you. And until you start to worship the God in you and start to ignore the devil in you, things will not move. So
That is it. This is all about
sorry if that was
controlling.
offensive to anybody.
I'm gonna say, "Oh, well, if it is," because you are dropping gems. Like, that is a profound way to look at life because so many people are controlled by what they think is right, rules, other things, their, conditioning, just everything they've ever experienced, and they're carrying it with them, and sometimes it's just about putting it down and figuring out who you are and not because people love to hold you in contempt for who you were. Like,
Yeah,
it's like the Jessica now, I don't do certain things. I don't accept certain things now. So I can't be held to standards from last year or years before that because they're not
right.
my standards now.
And the evolution has happened, and the things that were okay for Jessica then are not okay for Jessica now, because you have so much more capacity and so much more complexity that relationships should be evolving with you. And the beautiful thing about reciprocal relationships is they do evolve with you. I think evolution is a huge way to tell if the relationship is transactional also. I was doing a series on TikTok that I'm gonna continue, doing that if you grow and you evolve in a way that is better for you all around, you get a new job, you stop drinking, you stop smoking, you stop drugging, whatever it is that, you wanted to come out of, if your crowd is not receptive to that change and encouraging it, even if they're not changing themselves, if they're not encouraging it, then you know that they don't see you as a reciprocal, equal partnership. You serve some type of need for them, and they need for you not to change, and you have to stay the same. And my mother was the same way. When I began to evolve, it was a tighter grasping of because now I'm losing the grip on the relationship as it was, and I'm not evolving. I'm not going nowhere. I'm gonna be 16 for the rest of my life. Deal with it. That's where I'm at. So, um, when you see that, it becomes more evident. I would encourage people not to hold on to those relationships, but take it as a sign that I'm moving in the right direction. Do you see how we keep coming back to you got to stop giving a about what people think about you?
Yes.
Because it's what people think about your growth and your progress and your evolution. It's these things that hold you back from actually healing because they kind of sound like that negative self-speak. It's not because they're right.
Mhm.
They read the same book your parents read. So
Right.
now you're getting confirmation bias because they're saying what you're thinking and you've never spoke that out loud. So I don't know if I can heal from it. Them people. Okay. So, give me your hand. Them people. They don't matter one iota. They are not happy in their own line because if they were, they wouldn't have so much space to judge you about yours.
Right. You often mention the myth of unconditional love in toxic families. How does that idea keep women stuck in cycles of emotional neglect or guilt?
So sad. It's one of those things that I hate the most because we're taught that this is your family system. You can never leave it. This is what loyalty means. Nobody is perfect. You aren't perfect. So it conditions you to ignore things that shouldn't be ignored in imperfect people. Unconditional love, especially in taught to children, it develops their presets. The way that you love your family, social learning theory says you learn how to do, love from your family. You learn how to cook from your family. If your family has an awkward way of loving, you're going to have that. And it's so dangerous, especially for women, because we go out in the world attempting to love people unconditionally when most people in the world outside of your family have conditions. Most people in your family have conditions.
Right.
You're taught to overlook them. So they're training you, just like we talked about earlier with the low self esteem. You've been cloaked with devaluing yourself and calling it love. We have to change our relationship to the word, but we don't know how to do that because we've never seen it. And offering unconditional love to anybody outside of a baby is inappropriate because your love should have conditions. There are things that you need to show up powerfully. You don't know what those are because nobody has ever asked you what you needed. I challenge that by asking people in every situation, especially those very taxing relationships. This is how I test that. What do I need to love you? What do I need? With my mother, for example, I began to ask myself, what do I need to love you the way that you expect? Man, I need to forget the past, to not feel pushed to the side when I see you do for others what you never did for me. I need to ignore the fact that you used my physical labor and you barely said thank you. I need to ignore the fact that you don't accept accountability. And then I asked myself if I could do that.
Yeah.
And the answer was no. So I realized that I couldn't love my mother according to the way that she wanted to be loved. So what can I do to stay in relationship with her? What do I need? Well, I need to get comfortable with superficial conversations because, you know, she has the depth of a puddle. That means she's
Yeah.
16. So there is no challenging her thoughts. There is no asking her deeper questions. There is no motherly depth. As I evolved and I needed a mother to evolve with me, she stayed 16. So I had to not get advice from her and not desire advice from her. And what I really had to do was understand who she was
Mhm.
and find a surrogate for what I needed, because you can't get blood from a turnip, and she's not
Okay.
going to be deep. She don't got it, baby. So I had to stop expecting that out of her. So we had a very superficial relationship for a while. And then I decided that I didn't like superficial relationships. The more I found myself and the more I decided what I liked, time is so precious. You
Mhm.
only get so much of it. There is no reset button. Do I want to spend this valuable time talking about the weather with the person who owes me an apology? Or do I want to learn to crochet? I started looking at that list of replacements. I have a whole list of things I want to learn how to do, crazy stuff. I have a roller skating lesson next week. I
Uh-huh.
taught myself how to crochet. I'm making blankets and swimsuits and all types of stuff. Just challenging the neuroplasticity of my mind and constantly stretching to get sharper about the things that I do know, but to gain knowledge, the things that, if I want to do that, if that's my goal, can a superficial relationship, where does that fit in my grand scheme?
It doesn't
And
align.
it doesn't. So when she said, You're not going to hold me accountable," and I said, I'm not trying to hold you accountable, mommy. And she was like, "You're not going to hold me accountable." I took a deep breath. And at that point, I released myself of guilt and shame of ending the relationship, because, in essence, I didn't end it, she did. And I didn't close the door without welcoming her back for a healed return. So you get to design no contact. It could be no contact, it could be low contact, but you first have to check in with yourself to ask yourself what you need, because when you've been programmed to love unconditionally, your needs don't matter in that
No.
system.
The only thing that matters is keeping the love at all costs, no matter what you have
Yeah,
to sacrifice.
which means forget you
Mm.
and how you feel. You're not important. This thing is important.
Yes.
And it's really silly. One of my favorite creators on TikTok just did a skit where he put on a bee costume while the background said, bees, if they feel like they're in an environment that's toxic, like dealing with a toxic family, they just leave. They just leave. And for people who say that it's unnatural for, you to break up with your family, for you not to be with your family, this happens in nature consistently. I don't know what they're talking about. As a matter of fact, you have to be useful to your family system in order to stay. They don't care how old you are. There is no hierarchy in bad behavior. If you didn't bring enough nuts over here, if you are eating all the nuts from everybody who they did collect and you didn't bring anything, they will oust you. See, the thing is, nature has a hierarchy where they know that. It's only in human beings where they play on our system of emotion to keep us in toxic systems that we don't act this out. They do it in nature all the time. They kick cubs out. They leave babies by themselves. So I hate when people say, "Oh, it's unnatural." The bee will just leave.
Right. True. What's unnatural is to sacrifice everything about yourself for love, and to think the only time you're worthy of love is when you're giving everything you have till you have literally nothing and you don't even know who you are anymore. So sometimes
So
it's
what does
okay to
that
be.
teach you about the concept of loving yourself? Since children learn this, now we talk about self-love, self-care. I got to do self-care. I got to do self-love. How do you know what that is? What have you been taught about love? And I teach people to deconstruct that, because sometimes what they're trying to give to the world is not what they think it is, because they don't know what love actually is. They just know what the abuse and the programming felt like it. Oh, I get pushed back. They be kicking and screaming, but it's okay. I'm gonna hold your hand because you're safe here with me. I'm not gonna judge you for kicking and screaming. I was there rolling around on the floor, foaming at the mouth too. This is not just you, which is again why I have to keep my mindset. I mean, you call it humility, but honestly, I feel like this is what all people need to feel comfortable. I don't want a bunch of people trying to dig through my past and figure out who I am because I'm online judging somebody, being holier than thou, when that's not what I was born to do. I was born to live my life, whether I'm an example to others or not. I'm supposed to be living my existence with every beat of my heart, moving toward the direction that I determine, creating the life that I created. That's why I manifested here in physical form. I didn't come here to suffer. So, I think that part of me constantly saying that and reminding people of that will keep them from idolizing me, and it will keep them keep focused on themselves, because this is not about me delivering the information so that I can sound so smart and so studious. I didn't need, I don't need that. I'm literally happy in my own skin. I don't need that. So, I need people to always see me as a mirror. I don't want to be your master teacher, because I'm not a master teacher. I'm a bigger student than I ever was a teacher. And I keep that in my mind. I'm constantly learning and absorbing, because that's what I came here to do. That's how I have the experiences. So I am a big student and a little teacher. And I want them to see me as such. That's the only way they won't replace their mother's programming with mine.
Right.
That happens. And no, I don't wanna be your guidance system. You're supposed to graduate me. You're not supposed to be in therapy for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Fire them. Fire your decenter your therapists, okay?
Mhm. Okay.
Challenge yourself. If your therapist, if your coaching program is not challenging yourself to be closer to who you want to be and not demeaning you, because that's not necessary. I haven't, and I correct me if I'm wrong, I hope that I haven't made anybody seem small or feel small, because it's not required. I can be powerful, so can you. We powerful together. There's more than enough people around.
With creators, it's really tough because there's just so much comparison. And it's like you can't compare somebody who's in their own lane. You're doing your own thing your way. Your thing is to empower women, to reclaim language, clarity,
Well,
power.
and men too, because now I'm moving over into a space where I focused on women so much because I am a woman. And it's not that I don't think I can talk about men's studies. It's not that. I know that I'm capable, but if I'm doing it, there's some man who's also sharing this experience. And I feel like his experience, while not more important than mine, is more authentic, and men need to hear men speak about these things. So when I find men, there's one I really like. His name is Andrew Hester. I follow him on TikTok. I love his content because and it's just like my content, estranged parents, emotionally immature, but it's coming from a man's perspective. I love that. And I never want to be so presumptuous that I'm speaking for a man when there are men out here that I could just support them. I don't necessarily have to cover everything, though I do speak to men too. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but I didn't want that distinction to be made that I just work with women, because I do one-on-one coaching sessions with men all the time. You would be surprised to hear that most of my clients are men, and they come to me to hear what they need to hear. I've had men consult with me on starting their businesses. Because I'm feminine and they're single, so they need feminine energy. They need the feminine perspective, because as a man, he doesn't have that. He's operating
Right.
in his strong suit. So he's coming to me operating in mine heavily. And I mean, I don't take it easy on them either. I
Yeah.
had a male and he said, I really want all these things, but I'm so comfortable. I'm comfortable right now. Everything's so comfortable. And I said, you know what else is comfortable? He was like, what? I said, casket. You ready to die? Because I could I could make you some appointments to go and lay inside the casket so you can feel the comfort of them if
Uh-huh.
you're just ready to go, because you're supposed to be growing until you're dead. And if you're done, then go ahead. Then you
Right.
ready? No, Tiff, no, that's not what I want. I didn't want. He started his business like the next week.
Okay.
I'm not going to fool with you.
I
I'm
see.
not here for that. To
That
play
has worked with men so thoroughly as well, because that was something that I was not completely aware of.
mother. They all need to be remothered. And my energy is very maternal. I've always been like this. I've always been somebody mama. Always telling somebody what to do. I'm the oldest daughter, okay? I've always been very maternal. So men come to me for remothering. I do remothering work in rehab therapy. I do drug rehab coaching. Most of my clients are men here. Um, this thing has just evolved so beautifully, all because I wanted to be responsible with the advice that I gave while I was baking cakes. It just flourished into this thing, and it's still growing.
It is amazing what you built. I mean,
Thank you.
I don't think people, even me, I like could even fathom all the facets of this. I'm so glad to be talking to you about it. And I wanted to know, what message do you hope every listener walks away with after hearing your story?
If I could choose one thing, the message that I would hope that you would walk away with is change your relationship with yourself, with the way that you speak to yourself, with the way that you treat yourself, and make it align with what you always wanted. Before you begin to focus on repairing a relationship with a friend or a family member, before you overgive another thing, before you try to qualify for their love, I want you to check in with yourself. And I want you to be genuine and ask yourself what you need. Don't you dare judge yourself. Don't speak anything negatively. What do I need right now in this moment? Don't assume that you need those things because you're weak. There's nothing wrong with you. I know that you've been told that you were damaged, and you are not. You were just incomplete. And as long as you have air in your lungs, you can complete your journey your way without anyone's input. And it's important that you do that before you branch off into usefulness for another being, because you're so important. Not because it's just irresponsible or it's just time for you to heal. You deserve to heal. So wake up and make your bed and clean your house. Not because it's a sign of a healthy person, but because you deserve a space that is well put together. You deserve it. Clean up internally, not because, oh, you're just going to be a bad person if you don't do the work, but because you deserve a mind that's unchaotic, and because you deserve to meet yourself for the very first time. This is not holier than thou. Everybody starts somewhere, and this is where we start. If they take nothing else, I want them to meet themselves. I want them to meet me and then meet themselves. It's really important, and that's where they can stay.
That is so powerful. And I just want to thank you for being here today. I've learned a lot from you. So I love what you talked about. With the student, that is just, it's amazing what you built.
Thank you so much, and I'm still it's actually I wanna say that I'm building it, but I almost don't feel like I am. It's building it. It is becoming what it has designed itself to be. The only thing that I had to focus on was making sure this matches what I want to put out. It's I don't want people to think I'm doing so much work or that it's so much heavy lifting, and it's really not. It's me moving in a direction that's authentically me and not worrying about internet beefs to get your message out there. And you see, I've never beefed with anybody. I've never stitched a video. I've never done any of that. I just open my camera and talk. Hair sandy, no makeup, edges nappy. It does not matter what people think about me because I feel that I'm beautiful. So if a person said, big lip, black neck, if they came on and said anything, I'm okay. I'm okay with that because again, compassionately, if they're trying to insult what I look like, then they're insecure about what they look like. I model professionally. You can't tell me like I know what I look like. I moved to Miami and booked modeling contracts sitting at the bar. Like I am the brand face for Molan Labe cigars in Miami. And that was a month after I moved here. You can't be worried about what people think about you. And at that time I had lost 40 pounds because I was stressed because
Yeah.
you gotta
So it's
keep a higher.
really about that. That's the takeaway. Is like you got to start with you.
You're the star player on your team. Why are you trying to have a relationship with anybody else and you don't like yourself? Why? They're gonna like you as much as you like you. They're gonna treat you how you treat you. See, that's the thing. That's another thing about overgiving. It's not teaching them how to treat you. It's teaching them how to cheat you.
Okay.
Okay. The only thing that teaches people how to treat you is self advocacy. I enjoy this. What do you like? When I begin to tell people about my boundaries, this is another thing that people do that I don't like. This is my boundary. You either gonna deal with it or you not. You're a tyrant
Mhm.
and you're afraid, like a little cat growling, trying to be bigger than they are. I see the fear on you. I smell it. Um, when I sit down and I express my boundaries in relationships, because trust and believe before I let you into my body, we are clear on a few things. you know? Um, when I'm in relationship, I like when people call me and I like to know that you're thinking about me. I don't like to have to guess. And when I'm in relationships, if I'm thinking of you and I get myself lunch, then I may be inclined to do that. But you in no way have to feel like this is a transactional relationship. It's just, even if it's as big as a vacation or a Snickers bar, if I know that the person that I'm with wants something, they'll have that. It just, that's the way that I am. And I will show up like that until I see evidence otherwise. If
Mhm.
they've already gotten to this point where we're in a relationship, I've vetted them. I know that I'm safe with them by now. We're not talking about a man I just met off the street. We're talking about 6 to 8 months in.
Mhm.
Um, I like engagement. I enjoy going out on dates to feel pretty. I also have times where I may need to just pour into my femininity, and I need you to understand that. What kind of things work for you? Tell me what kind of things work for you. So it's not just a laying down the law. This is a conversation. It's a flow. And I'm learning about you. I'm learning about your limits. I always ask first, I really like you. And I don't want this to end. I'm enjoying the contact that we're having. Tell me about the things that are boundaries for you, that are off limits. Tell me about those things that are just non negotiable for you. And I listen first. And then I say, well, I appreciate that. And I agree with a couple of those. These are the things that are non negotiable for me. Are you okay with that? That's a first date non negotiable conversation. I start powerfully. So tell me about the things that you don't like. Tell me about the things that you really enjoy. How do you process your anger? I don't need to know about your past relationships. Tell me about how you process your frustration, because that's something that's guaranteed to happen in our human experience. What do
Mhm.
you do? I do chop challenges where I go and look in my refrigerator and see what I can hyper focus on to transmute the energy. I'm big on that. You
Mhm.
piss me off, chances are I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna have a coloring book. I'm gonna design content for my girls. I don't get mad for no reason. I don't waste my anger. I'm not
Me either.
stewing in it. I'm not soup. I'm going to use that thing, and I'm if I have with anger. So if anybody pisses me off, or they're slandering me or they're frustrating me, I already have an agreement with myself that I process my anger.